It's the most wonderful time of the year.
We promise this is the last time you're going to hear the song until Magic 96 starts playing Christmas music. Welcome back to the Locker Room. It's our pre-selection show. We're picking all the conference champions and your national champions. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Anderson, and joining me,
I'm Phil Shifley.
What?
I'm Phil Shifley.
I'm Brady Hoke.
Yeah, and Brandon Jones and Matthew Hirsch have left for the day.
and I'm Ron Burgundy.
Who put a question mark at the end of the teleprompter?
Well, as you know, we've been talking about all the different conferences, and now we get down to the big one.
Apparently, it's driving us slowly crazy.
We're getting delirious.
The Conference USAs and the WACs of the world, yeah.
So basically what we decided, well, the WAC basically will be La Tech. The Pac-12, we agreed it would probably be Oregon meeting USC. We also agreed that the Mountain West was going to be Boise. The Big 12 was going to be between TCU, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. The Big 10 would see Michigan or Michigan State meeting Wisconsin in the conference championship. The Big East, we were torn between Louisville, Syracuse, and South Florida. Conference USA, we thought it could have been Southern Miss or Marshall, even Central Florida, meeting Tulsa or SMU in their conference championship. And we just wrapped up with the ACC last segment, saying it could be Florida State or it could be Clemson or NC State, but we think they're going to meet either Virginia or Virginia Tech in their conference championship.
Yeah, it's Florida State, Virginia.
Hokey, high, tech, VPI.
Exactly. Like you said. Anyway, we'll
Gobble.
now we move on to the SEC, the Big Boy Conference. Now we're going to take this. We're going to take it for the West Division first because it's a little bit more heavy-laden.
The West side's the best side.
Exactly. Now we're going to start at the bottom. One of the new additions, Texas A&M. The Aggies are in the SEC, and guys starting out. How do you think they're going to do their first year?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, this ain't Conference USA. You ain't lining up against UAB. You come out here and you think you're going to throw it 50 times a game and that's going to fly. You in for a rude awakening. I don't see them doing much.
And everybody, what Brandon's talking about is they do have a new head coach with someone, and he did come from Houston, which is Conference USA, and no defense, air it out. If he brings that philosophy to Texas A&M, it's going to be a long 1 year that he has at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, you said they're not lining up against Conference USA. In the third game, they go to SMU.
I mean, the thing about it is, if Kevin Sumlin,
Tech, which will be in the Conference USA,
Kevin Sumlin should go take a look at the Conference USA championship game from last year and see how that offense works when you have a defense that has just as good as athletes on the defensive side of the ball as you have on the offensive side of the ball, which is something that you're going to get week in and week out in the SEC.
Well, and we talked about in our last segment that Southern Miss gets SEC talent, like just a little bit below SEC talent. They don't make the SEC schools, and that's why Southern Miss does as well as they do. Well, he saw that, and now he gets to play that every week.
Of course, I do like what he said. The reason why he did want to go to A&M and go to the SEC, he says you want to compete against the best. So he knows what he's stepping in against, and he wants to see, hey, if he measures up. And I think he'll help A&M. I don't think A&M's going to compete for the West, but I think they are going to give some teams some scare.
And what I like,
they're going to have a long year.
And what I like about him, he said this. He said that he's open. You look at when he was at Oklahoma when he had Adrian Peterson. He said, if I have to run it 50 times a game to win it, I'll do that. So he seems like he's a little bit flexible on the offense, but that defense better get a hell of a lot better than what it was last year.
Now, just to let people know, Texas A&M will travel to Auburn, and they will travel to Alabama. Just for all you Alabama fans, it will be the first time in school history that the Aggies have ever stepped foot in Bryant-Denny Stadium. They have never played there ever, and that's actually going to be the first time I think they've played in the state of Alabama. They've only played them in bowl games or in College Station. Now, Mississippi State, the Bulldogs. Dan Mullins coming off of he went to a bowl game, knocked off Wake Forest barely. But now the questions are starting to circulate about Dan Mullins. They start out with the Jackson State team, and Brandon has told us time and time again, and we've seen him in action, you don't screw around with some of these teams from the SWAC. If you think you're going to go in and just beat them, they're going to hang with you, and they'll beat you if you don't take them serious. The question really is not, I don't think, is that game. I think the big question for Mississippi State is that second game against Auburn.
Auburn.
Well, that's always the first question they run into, that both those teams run into.
But now the thing is, can Mullins beat Auburn? Because he's come close, but he can't seem to just get over that hump.
How do you say no in French?
No way.
No way. No.
So-
No.
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 Non, yet, nada.
I mean, I can say
As we
no a whole bunch of different ways.
As they say in Starkville, Mississippi, no.
Yeah. I mean, the
I mean,
problem
it's not going to happen.
the problem with Dan Mullen is this.
It's
I have
Mullins.
never understood the Dan Mullen hype. Okay, he went to a bowl game last year, but you look at who he played non-conference. It was Memphis, it was UAB, it was the FCS school in there, and then some other team that we can't name. Okay, so he gets 4 wins like that, and then he sneaks up on 2 SEC wins. If you look at Dan Mullen, he has never beaten Arkansas. He's never beaten Alabama.
Let's stop it right there.
What?
The only teams in the West that he has beaten is Ole Miss.
Yeah,
That's it.
That's it. That's all he's got.
he's never beaten anyone of any circumstance. Oh, he beat Georgia 2 years ago.
Now
when
here's
they
the
were
question.
down.
Here's the real big question, guys. If he has another 6-6 or a 7-5 season, is he out the door?
Well, I think the big question with that is that coupled with even here recently some issues with the NCAA that might
Yeah.
be coming up. That kind of all combined could cause him some problems.
He got Jonathan Banks though, probably one of the best corners in the nation.
It makes you wonder that if they don't get rid of him, does he try to find greener pastures?
Yeah, and you got to find greener pastures
Because his name has been thrown out there for a lot of jobs before anyway.
That makes you wonder why he's never been picked for any of those jobs.
He should have sprinted to Florida when they asked him to come.
Right.
Now we move on to Ole Miss. Houston
Who?
Nutt is gone. Hugh Freeze, the new head coach.
Ole Miss, that one team that Mississippi State can beat in the West.
Oh yeah.
Now, Hugh Freeze basically came in first year head coach and said, got a lot of work to do. Don't get your hopes up.
He's
You
not
got to
right.
respect a coach that can be
says
like,
that.
hey, there's not much here.
I see him
Just going to let you go, guys.
2 or 3 wins tops.
Now, the thing that kind of makes you a little nervous if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're excited that you're getting Texas to come to Ole Miss to play. The problem is you're getting Texas to come to Ole Miss and play. Yeah. So we are kind of all on a consensus that Ole Miss, they just got a lot of work to do, and it's probably not going to be their year.
Ole Miss better look out for Central Arkansas that first game.
Oh, yes.
Because Central Arkansas is coming in ranked top 15 in FCS.
I'll tell you, the couple of games that Ole Miss fans really should look forward to, maybe Texas A&M, because that's going to be a home game, and A&M's going to have a rough time of it, a rough go of it in the SEC. I'm not going to say that Ole Miss is going to win.
They feel like it'll be Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I'm talking about games that they might be competitive with.
Yeah.
So Texas A&M.
I think Texas A&M will be getting their first SEC win there. So
I tell you one that they need to look out for. Vanderbilt could really get them again, which like they've done the past few years.
It ain't no Cam.
I think Vanderbilt's going to beat them pretty bad.
If Hugh Freeze wants to, he could easily put all his eggs in one basket and make a game of it versus Mississippi State. They play that one in Oxford. Again, not saying they're going to win, but that could be an interesting game because those Rebel fans, they're starved for that golden egg.
All right, now the next team, LSU. Now, I know a lot of people have said they really thought they were competing with Alabama, and a lot of people thought they were going to win the West. Now that Tyrann Mathieu is gone. Now, I don't know how big of an effect that has, but do you guys think, what does that do to LSU? That he's gone, that the Honey Badger is now no longer there?
You lose your spark plug. You lose your emotional leader.
Boy,
but you're going to replace him with another 5-star.
Right. I mean, everybody, when you get that high up and you're that deep, is replaceable. I think that you lose somebody vocal, somebody
that big playability
was a leader potentially. A major part of the kicking game. Mm-hmm. You lose the return game, that is. So, but LSU will be fine. They're good. They're going to compete with Alabama in the West.
Now, the thing that a lot of people are happy about is that the Huskies, Washington comes into Baton Rouge, but more importantly, that the LSU Texas A&M rivalry gets revved back up again. Now, I think, as we all agreed, it's not going to be good because LSU
is going to beat the absolute mess out of Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, I really think that is. I really think that's probably what's going to happen. But I think as time gets along and A&M starts getting acclimated to the way the SEC is, I think that could turn into one hell of a rivalry.
Yeah, it will. It will.
That could be one of the worst losses A&M has all year, just because of how good LSU is and how big of a rivalry it is.
Now, Arkansas, the next one, a lot of people don't know because of the Bobby Petrino situation and the new coach they got in. Everybody thinks he's a joke. They don't know really what's going to happen. But, Brandon, you brought this up off air. They still got talent.
Yeah.
They still got,
Now Davis is still there.
Yep.
Kobe Hamilton is still there. Your quarterback is still there.
Tyler Wilson.
Tyler Wilson's still there. You still got talent. This is the problem with Arkansas. Arkansas, I see probably 8 wins.
The thing with Arkansas is that you have all this talent coming back that was still third best in the West behind Alabama and LSU, who's returning a lot of their talent.
Mm-hmm.
With Arkansas, with all that talent that was quote-unquote third best, with a coach that's not Bobby Petrino.
And not only that, a lot of their wide receivers are suspended, in trouble. They're going to be good. I just don't. I think the thing for me, I really feel like they're going to put everything they have into that third game against Alabama when they get Alabama to come into Arkansas. And I feel like if they don't win that game, it may be, all right, well, what are we playing for now? I really feel like that's what they're going to do. They're going to put it all in to try to see if they can beat Alabama.
I think they're a 7-8 win team.
Yeah, they're going to lack a lot of discipline, a lot of consistency.
Yeah.
Now we go on to Auburn. Now the Tigers coming off of a 8-5 season. A lot of people are asking questions. Hey, new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. Now the question I'll ask you guys: they finally named a quarterback. Kyle Frazier. Of course, we all knew he was going to be.
Oh yeah, and they also named it Water Was Wet also.
Yeah. So the question really is, how does this help them? Does this hurt them that they've got 2 new coordinators? What do you see happening there?
On the defensive side, it can't do nothing but help.
Ted Roof was horrible.
Brian Van Gorder's a good defensive coordinator. He's going to be a great fit. You already heard out of fall camp that they're already improved. They've learned a lot of new schemes. There's some improvement just fundamentally. Lemonier has already come out and said he was probably their best returning starter anyway, that he's not just going to be a pass rusher, he's going to block the gap. Like, he's learned how to block the gaps, how to really contain the run, which is going to be huge in the SEC. So they're going to be very improved on the defense.
Now the question everybody's asking is that first game against Clemson, who wins that game? Auburn, Clemson?
Clemson.
Boy, I'm leaning Auburn. I've got to be honest, because Clemson's losing or is not going to have Sammy Watkins. I think that's a game that Auburn really wants to make a statement. I think it'll be a good game. I think that Auburn will just probably shock some folks. Auburn's been known to be the luckiest team in America sometimes, and I think that game could be one of those type games.
I'm leaning Auburn. I'm going to give them the nod. The only reason why the last time they lost in the Georgia Dome was in the Peach Bowl against North Carolina.
Seriously, I want everybody to mark my words. Auburn, for the past, at least even probably from Tommy Tuberville through Gene Chizik, luckiest team in America.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that Clemson game might exemplify that. So when Auburn wins and they shouldn't, I want everybody to remember this show. Remember what I said.
Now, the question that everybody's asking, that leaves Alabama. Alabama is coming off of a national championship. They are replacing some starters on defense. Their offense is still intact. However, they do lose Trent Richardson.
Best offensive line in the country.
Yeah, and they do lose Marquise Mays, but they've still got a lot of weapons. The question everybody is asking is, they think the Michigan game is going to be close. I'll ask you guys, are we all in consensus that we think Alabama's going to win that game?
Yes.
I think so.
Now, the question that everybody's saying is, after Michigan, with all due respect to Western Kentucky, Arkansas, Florida Atlantic, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Tennessee, and Mississippi State, the next big game for Alabama is when they go to Baton Rouge November 3rd to play LSU.
Let's rewind a little bit. I'm not saying Arkansas is going to be good. I'm saying that look out for that Arkansas game.
I would agree.
And I ain't saying Arkansas going to beat Alabama. That ain't what I'm saying. But I think you go into Fayetteville, third week of the season, they're capable. That ain't saying that Arkansas is going to be good. That ain't what I'm saying.
I'm going to go ahead and, instead of going game by game, kind of put it out there. And this because I don't want people emailing, Facebooking, talking about how much of a homer I am, because you know what? I'm a homer. I'll admit it. Alabama grad. But the thing is, I've kept up with it, and this is one of the few springs and even especially fall camps where Nick Saban has come out and said that he was very pleased. He didn't say he was satisfied. He made that very clear. But he was very pleased. If you listen to a lot of the players talk, they were very focused. There were a lot of players that played on that 2010 team that came off of a national title that they were complacent. They lost a little focus. And this team sounds like they are focused to not let 2010 happen again. So I think that Alabama is going to be on the lookout for games like Arkansas and LSU, where they're really going to, and even Michigan, where they're going to really play their best.
I think I really am picking them to win the West. And I'm not saying that because I'm an Alabama fan. I'm saying that because LSU seems to really be the only team, and I just don't know, with them losing Honey Badger, I don't know if, like you say, they have that spark where they can just get that big explosive play and then they're off to the races.
And I'm going to go ahead and say I think Alabama's going to win the West too.
I'm going to LSU.
So you think LSU will win the West?
I think LSU wins the West.
Now, going to the East, we start out with Vanderbilt. Now, Franklin has done a great job. Mm-hmm. He has got them believing and changing the culture there. However, that first game against South Carolina, that could be good because if they're able to upset South Carolina on a national stage, it's Thursday night, it's them and Texas A&M and La Tech are the only two games going on. Mm-hmm. If they do that, they get Northwestern, and not too long after that, they get Georgia, and they've seemed to give Georgia some fits.
Yeah.
So it could be possible, but how good do you think Vanderbilt's going to be this year?
I think they're a 7-win team.
Which you can't ask for anything more at Vanderbilt.
Boy, I mean, Vanderbilt should be pretty good. I haven't gone through the schedule. I don't know if they're a 7-win team or not, but boy, they're going to give South Carolina a tough game.
Yeah,
they could really set the tone.
Remember this: 2008, Steve Spurrier and South Carolina opened up the season on ESPN against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt beat them. Okay, Vanderbilt they're capable of beating South Carolina. Will they do it? I don't know. But I'm looking at Northwestern, win. The Blue Holes of Presbyterian, win. I see them beating Florida. I see them beating Auburn. I see them beating UMass, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Wake Forest.
Right. And I can't necessarily disagree with any of those, especially, did you say you see them beating Florida, by the way?
I see them beating Florida.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know about that, but I have a feeling they'll beat Auburn.
I got a feeling they'll beat Auburn, yeah.
A lot of people really think that's possible. I think for that game, it just depends where Auburn is in their program.
I think the bigger question with Vanderbilt is, where's James Franklin going to be next year?
Yeah. That is true. I mean, because people, if he can turn them into a 7 or 8 win team, there are going to be people knocking at the door saying, hey, if you can do that at Vanderbilt, come here.
No, they're knocking already.
Right.
Now, Tennessee, there's a lot of questions, and a lot of people are saying,
I can give you the answer right now. Yes, Derek Dooley will be gone at the end.
I sincerely hope that Derek Dooley and John L. Smith enjoyed their final SEC Media Day, because that's it.
I mean, and if you look at their schedule, I mean, it's a winnable schedule. They could win 7 or 8 games, but the way that team is starting to implode, they lost their top wide receiver.
Yep.
That Chick-fil-A game, kind of like that Auburn-Clemson game, really could set the tone for Tennessee. Where they play NC State. If they win that game, boy, that really gives them a lot of motivation, a lot of momentum for the rest of the year. If they drop that one, it could just be a downhill spiral from there.
Now, South Carolina, A lot of people are murmuring around that program because now they're ranked in the top 10. They open up with Vanderbilt. There's a lot of people saying that they could very well win the East. And a lot of people are thinking that there's nobody standing in their way. However, the one thing that I still point to that they've got to prove, they can beat Arkansas. Arkansas has just had their number.
Yep.
And the question a lot of people are asking is, could this be the year that Steve Spurrier takes them and wins the SEC?
I think that South Carolina.
Hold on, let me make this easy.
Go ahead.
Because you got a lot more than I have to say. No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think South Carolina's talented. When you look at them on paper, they're pretty
Oh,
talented.
yeah, they got Lattimore, and they're deep.
No, they're not going to do it. You got to go to LSU. I don't see them winning that. I know they get Georgia at home. I don't see them beating Georgia. And those might be their only 2 losses. But Georgia has an easy schedule.
Georgia does. And the one thing about it, and speaking of Georgia, the one thing that everybody has always talked about is Georgia always comes out of the blocks a little late. And think about it, second game of the year, they go to Columbia, but they go to Columbia, Missouri. And Missouri is not an easy team to beat at home. And I really honestly think Missouri can win that game.
And they got this kid named James Franklin,
I know,
which
right?
is no relation to Vanderbilt's James Franklin. That can do some things with the football. Georgia better be on high alert.
Now, the thing that we have to ask about Georgia, now a lot of people are saying they'll probably beat Tennessee. South Carolina game, we all agree that's going to be a really good matchup. It always is. But the question that I have,
The cocktail party.
the cocktail party with Florida. Now they beat
They don't
Florida.
call it the cocktail party anymore.
Yeah, they just call it the most boring game because nobody really cares anymore.
It's the cocktail party.
Now Florida, they beat Florida last year, but Florida was bad and banged up, and they barely beat them.
Yeah.
That's the question. I mean, I don't know if that, but the real one is going to be Auburn. They got to go to Auburn, and when the hell was the last time they beat Auburn in Auburn?
That's a good question.
That's if they can beat Florida and they can beat Auburn, then yes, there's your Eastern Conference champions. If they can't, hello Gamecocks. They're going to be
Georgia beat Auburn. It's Georgia. Georgia has too much. When you look at on the offensive side of the ball, the quarterback they got back there, Jarvis Jones, the linebacking core, Brandon Smith. You name it, they got it. Georgia just got too much, so I don't see them tripping up to Auburn.
Now Kentucky, Joker Phillips,
He's gone too.
yeah. I mean, I don't want people are going to make it sound like, oh well, no. There may be nice guys, but just because you're a nice guy, I mean, you can coach worth a damn. I mean, we're being honest. This is what we do, guys. We're analysts and we don't BS people. He is not cutting the mustard at Kentucky, and he starts out with Louisville. And Charlie Strong has actually proven not only can he beat him, but he may actually beat him like a drum that first game. And if that happens, Kentucky, the only thing he can hang his hat on is, hey, I beat Tennessee for the first time in 35 years. That's all he's got. He has nothing else.
He better try to get that Kent State win and try to beat Western Kentucky. You remember they struggled with Western Kentucky
Exactly,
last year?
yeah.
So we try to get that Western Kentucky win. And after that,
They get Samford.
you get Samford.
Yeah.
Get Samford.
Because I'll be honest, I think they do lose to Missouri. They have to go to Missouri, and people can say what they want about the SEC and Missouri, and this is a different conference, yes. But we would all agree Kentucky is not the best. And not even.
So y'all are kind of selling Missouri short, I think, guys.
I think Missouri's great.
I think Missouri's going to be in the hunt.
Yeah, they're going to compete. They got a better chance of winning their division than A&M does.
Right.
But now, speaking of Missouri, like you were talking about, Matt, I mean, you look at their schedule, they don't shy away. Even in their non-conference, they got Arizona State. They've got Syracuse. I mean, they are lining up, and they're basically saying, look, we will play anybody, anywhere, anytime. The question I have for you, Matt, what chance do you give Missouri of winning the East?
I think Missouri will probably win the East.
I don't think they'll win it. I think they're going to have a lot to say about it.
I think they're going to be in the top 2 or 3.
All they'll really have to... I think the big thing is that if they can beat Georgia and South Carolina, it's smooth sailing from there.
Right.
They've got it.
Now, the one thing that people will say is, well, how can you say that? Well, because Georgia and Missouri will play each other the second game of the year. If they can knock off Georgia, which I think they will, The question really is going to be, can you go into South Carolina and beat the Gamecocks? Which is it's
that's the
not
big,
easy.
That's the big question because Georgia, like you said earlier, Georgia comes out of the gate really slow.
Oh, do they ever?
And so if they can really put it together and beat South Carolina at South Carolina, which they could, I mean that's it.
I would argue this for Missouri. Missouri might have the hardest out of conference schedule out of anyone in the SEC. They got Arizona State. They go to Central Florida, a team that's predicted to win Conference USA, and they play Syracuse, a team that's predicted to
win the Big East. Well, we all think is going to win the Big East.
They're not shying away from anybody.
And the thing about Missouri is you got to give them credit because just like A&M, hey, they're glad to be here, but they're not intimidated. They're going to come out and play. They may get beat on some games, but they're not going to roll over and just play dead. They're going to come out and they're going to throw the ball at you. And they're going to hit you.
The difference between Missouri and Texas A&M is Texas A&M's trying to get away from Texas, and Missouri's trying to take it to the next level.
Yep,
that's the big difference.
And then you look at a program. Missouri is in a better state as a program. Not state like in Texas and Missouri, but I'm talking about the state of the program. Missouri is in better hands than Texas A&M.
Well, they've got a great coach in Gary Pinkel. I think that even in the state, I think that they've got a really good potential fan base that will really kind of flourish in the SEC.
Yeah.
So being in Missouri and having some of those bigger markets is going to help.
And James Franklin, quarterback, was a freshman last year. Led that team to 8 wins. They got their 9th win against North Carolina in the bowl game. And Mr. Mo out there playing receiver. Mr. Mo, I like to call him. And Missouri's going to be pretty. Missouri's going to. They might win the East.
Now, Florida, the last team, usually will be a team when you mention them, they'll be, the perennial favorites to win the East, and how the mighty have fallen, because now we're talking about, can Florida even get 6 wins to get to a bowl game?
This is the thing about Florida. I've heard everything from dark horse to the biggest disappointment.
Right.
Thing about Florida is, and we talked about this kind of off air, me and Matthew, they're talented. Yeah. They're very, very talented.
And they're having a lot of offense this year with Brent Pease.
A lot of their success is going to depend on whether they go with Brissett or whether they go with the other cat. Forgot his name.
Driscoll.
Yeah, Driscoll. And can they take care of the football? And the other thing about Florida, they haven't had a running back to run for over 1,000 yards since Cedric Faison in 2004.
Now, they can do it. A lot of people will look and say that South Carolina, LSU, Georgia.
That Florida State game's a big question.
It really is.
That's really the big one.
And then also Vanderbilt, whether people want to admit or not, Vanderbilt, and I agree with you, what you said, but they could very well beat Florida this year. Yeah. So you get LSU, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Georgia, and Missouri, all 5 in a row. And if they get pounced by LSU again, and then they lose to Vanderbilt, then they got to go take on South Carolina. I mean, that could just be the boulder that just rolls right over the program, and they just can't stop it. But I really do think Florida will be good. I don't think they're going to win the East. The question now is who wins the East? Matt?
Brandon? See, I'm still not sure. That's the thing.
Go Georgia Bulldogs.
So now Brandon says Georgia. Matt? Anybody jumping out at you?
Probably Georgia. I really want to say Missouri, but I think that, I think the more I think about it, the more Georgia, they're going to win it.
I'm going to go on a limb, and I'm going to say South Carolina.
Can I tell you, I really don't think it matters.
Oh,
it does not.
Now, the thing about it is, it could be Georgia. The only reason I think it will be South Carolina
is whoever's going to lose to either Alabama or LSU.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, they're going to lose to Alabama. Brandon thinks they're going to lose to LSU.
All right, so now that we've established it's either going to be Alabama or LSU taking on Georgia or South Carolina in the championship game, and we believe it'll be either Alabama or LSU winning the SEC. Here is the $64,000 question, guys. Who's going to play in that national championship game in Miami?
That's a good question.
Now, now we want to recap what we've told everybody. A lot of people will say, well, who are the big conferences? Well, we've already said the Pac-12. We think it'll be Oregon and USC playing each other. The Big 12, it could be TCU, it could be Oklahoma, it could be Oklahoma State. The Big Ten, it could be Wisconsin taking on Michigan or Michigan State. In the ACC, it could be Florida State taking on possibly Virginia or Virginia Tech. But we think it could be NC State, or Clemson winning that division too.
Here's the thing: we were probably the most divided on the fact that Alabama, LSU, in that division. We were very staunch in what we picked with that. Could we see another rematch?
It is possible. I think the only reason why I don't think it may happen is LSU. I don't think is going to garner the respect and attention like they did last year. Where if they do lose one, they do have one loss. You may have voters that go, look, we're not going down this road again. We'll pick somebody else. Plus, you got to hope that the other teams like Florida State, if they run the table, they could say, hey, you know what? We think they're better, and they could get in. I don't know. That is possible. What do you think, Brandon?
I don't know, man. It's going to be real difficult. And the thing that really concerns me about the SEC is we kind of say it every year. You just kind of hope they don't knock each other off. You know what I mean?
See, I think that's what's going to probably happen.
And I think that's what's going to end up happening.
I don't think that's going to happen in the SEC, but go ahead.
But if the SEC doesn't win a national title this year, it's because they knocked each other off.
I mean, that's very possible.
But here's the thing. I don't necessarily see that happening in the SEC this year. I think that will happen in the Pac-12.
Yep. Oregon and USC are going to knock each other off.
Now, I will say this. I don't think it'll be a team from the Pac-12. I know everybody wants it to be USC. I don't think that's going to happen. I will make a prediction right now. What will happen is it will probably be either Alabama or LSU taking on Florida State.
Yeah.
Florida State has the easiest road to get there, and all they have to do is beat a couple teams at home.
So you picked Alabama to win the SEC, so you think it's going to be Alabama, Florida State?
I think it will be, and the reason why I think that that's possible is because people can say TCU, I don't know, Oklahoma stumbles. The Big 12, they've got to go undefeated because they don't have a conference game. ACC does. The Big 10, I think it's the same thing as the Pac-12. They're going to knock each other out. It's really going to be the ACC champ, and the people are clamoring for it to be Florida State. They're hoping it's somebody who can knock off the SEC.
Who do you think wins, Alabama or Florida State?
Honestly, looking at what I've seen, I would say I'd give the nod to Alabama.
Alabama. Alabama.
Is going to win the national title.
If you got Alabama, Florida State, I give it to Alabama.
I give it to Alabama.
Okay, well, you picked LSU to win. Brandon, you picked LSU to win.
It's LSU.
Florida
State's
so
not beating.
Who do you think's going to be in the national title, and who do you think's going to win? Not what Kyle said, what you say.
If I had to pick a national champion right now, and I do believe that we might not have an undefeated team this year, with that being said, I would probably have to take the winner of the Pac-12, who I think will be USC, and I'll take. I think Georgia could win the SEC.
Very
Sounds
possible.
strange, but I think Georgia could win the SEC. And if I had to pair those two up, I think Georgia has the ability to beat US. No, I don't. I think USC.
Say, wait, what?
Yeah.
I think USC would beat the hell out of Georgia.
I was going to say, are you really going to sit here and pick Georgia to win the national championship?
I think USC.
Put a lot of thought into this one, actually, guys. I think that it is going to be a rematch. I don't think it's going to be Alabama LSU. I think that we're going to see Alabama Michigan again. I really do, and I think that Alabama will win both times. So I'm going to pick Alabama.
So now a lot of people are asking, where do we stand? Matt has said Alabama and Michigan in the national championship. Alabama wins.
Alabama.
Brandon says USC and Georgia, and USC walks away with a win. I say Alabama, Florida State, and Alabama walks away with the win. I'm not saying that because I'm an Alabama fan.
Why are you picking Georgia? I'm not even.
I mean,
sure, if Georgia's going to win the East.
How the hell are they going to win? Are they going to get there by default? Do the champions all die of a heart attack and they got to give it to the Eastern champs?
I think the fun thing about this is we get to listen to this in about 4 months to see how damn wrong we were.
How wrong we were, yeah. Oh, I mean, and if you think about it, we all know. I mean, that's what's great about college football. You play the games.
I hope
Anybody can win.
I know he won't ever listen to this, but Steve Spurrier listens to go, what is that Brandon guy? What's wrong with him? Georgia.
Well,
Georgia never wins early, so they can't win late.
But that's very true.
That's true.
But we would all agree that this is going to be one hell of a college football season. We're excited.
Yep.
It starts Thursday, August 30th. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, La Tech. I mean, this is going to be exciting. Everybody's ready for it. But I still say one of the things that we're all going to walk away with is no matter what, college football is finally back. And I think it's been too long, and I really wish they'd just do it year-round and make my life a lot better.
I don't know about year-round.
Yeah, I don't know
No,
about
the hell with that, year-round. If I got to watch NASCAR year-round, damn it, we're going to watch
I love
football.
that kind
That's the problem with NASCAR, but that's another show for another day.
That's another show for another day. Guys, great show as always. This is going to be fun in 4 months when we can go back and go, what the hell were we thinking? So,
We look like buffoons.
And if you agree, disagree, hit us up on our Facebook page. Thanks for listening to The Locker Room.
And by the way, be glad that this is not It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is.
It is.